Influence can be fragmented. Influence can be partial.
Yeah.
And we got to start acknowledging that.
Yo. We got
Check out the full podcast. Link below.
Is Kanye West right to say he inspired the last 20 years of music? Now, like I said before, Kanye sat down with Big Boy alongside a Ty Dolla sign.
Tyler.
Yeah, I almost said that. Ty Dolla sign. They had a Vultures One sort of interview. I like the fact that Big Boy sat down with him and, man, they talked about a lot, inspiration behind the album, how him and Ty Dolla sign connected. Of course, Ye, typically he'll have his sound bites, things that he says is going viral, this, that, and the third. You can say whatever you want. He talked about his relationship with God. A lot of people took that out of context and said, what you mean? What you mean you beefing with Jesus? What you mean, right? So he said a lot of things, right? Mm-hmm. But one thing that he said, which I thought, man, we can have a real discussion about this, is he inspired the last 20 years of music. And he went on to talk about how he's inspired people like The Weeknd, people like Drake. He said you wouldn't have Future and Young Thug without him. You wouldn't have Travis Scott without him.
Very hesitantly, he said Young Thug and Future. He was like, a matter of fact.
He did say that very hesitantly. You're right. And really what he was getting at, because he specifically highlighted the auto-tune effect. Mm-hmm. He talked about his auto-tune ness in 808s and Heartbreaks, and how what he did with that album set a blueprint for how things eventually happen within music. And I thought there was some truth to what he said, but I also thought he left out a very pivotal name.
Kid Cudi.
And that was Kid Cudi. And it's ironic because, obviously him and Kid Cudi have been beefing for a little while. They've had a very weird relationship off and on. Mm-hmm. But Kid Cudi tweeted. Right, yeah, Kid Cudi actually tweeted after that went viral. He tweeted an excerpt from his Wikipedia that specifically said that Cudi's sound is what inspired 808s and Heartbreaks. And so he essentially is saying, you can't tell that story, Kanye, without mentioning my name, right? He said that without saying it. And so I'll kick this to you. I mean, we'll go back and forth. I mean, was Ye right? Is he right to say that? Or was he wilding as people think he usually is?
You know what we should start doing, in society? Put a percentage on how right somebody is.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
I don't want to say he's wrong because I don't think he's wrong. But then I don't want to say he's completely right because I think that's just taking credit for just way too many sounds. But I think he's like 65% right. Kanye, from a production standpoint, musical artist, production, just the combination of everything, is the greatest hip-hop artist I've ever heard. The sounds that he introduced, not only just in 808s and Heartbreak, but the sounds he introduced in Graduation, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. There's very intricate things he did that I think people ran with. And it may not always be obvious because Kid Cudi's influence has never been flat out obvious. But in all of these artists that he mentioned, I see aspects of what Kanye introduced. Now, see, it doesn't always have to be like flat out like that's what Kanye did.
A carbon copy.
It's a little intricate details. So when you say Kanye's influence has spanned all these different artists, I think he has like, for some of them, it's 5%. 30% of what Kanye was doing was influenced in that song or album that you heard. So I absolutely believe there's small percentages of Kanye's impact on every single hip hop song that has come out in 20. And yes, I believe sometimes it's 50, but sometimes it's small, but it's there.
Are you talking about percentages? You're basically saying, there's nuance.
Yeah.
There's nuance in a lot of this, right? Everything's not 100% or 0%.
Exactly.
And I agree with that sentiment because did Kanye West create auto-tune? Of course not. Was he the first rapper or person in hip hop that used auto-tune? Of course not. For him to highlight that as the sort of tool that he ushered in, I don't think he's saying he created it, but I do think, the mix of auto-tune with the emotional lyricism, the moody production, the dark, cathartic. I'm telling you, it's like real introspective and like there's some truth to what he did. At least from a production standpoint, that he did set a pretty good blueprint for. And I always think back because you and I, man, we were in college, man. It was an amazing time. Kid Cudi, a kid named Cudi dropped in 2008, I believe in July. And 808s and Heartbreak dropped in the fall. So you actually had these two pivotal albums from these two influential artists dropping in that same year. Fast forward, Drake drops So Far Gone the next year.
And you can hear those influences.
And you can hear the Say You Will, him rapping over Say You Will.
You can hear those influences.
Again, like, and then Travis Scott comes into the game a couple years later. The Weeknd comes into the game a couple years later. There's some truth to these guys being first, well, Kanye being first in this particular sound. And I think that's what he's getting at. To cast a whole wide net and say I inspired the last 20 years of music is ridiculous on itself. It's a ridiculous statement. When you get to what he did bring in and who are some of these artists that came to follow, I do believe there's more influence than people actually giving him credit for.
I mean, there's a percentage.
Yeah, there's definitely more credit.
What a lot of people, like, we looking back in retrospect, when you actually reflect on, like, what Kanye, every single time he came out, what he was able to do, if you actually reflect to how you felt at that time, it was new. So if you are, I heard 808s and Heartbreak, and remember, at that time, Ron Browse was out.
T-Pain was
Auto-tune was heavy. T-Pain was out. Lil Wayne was using auto-tune. Like, auto-tune was very, very, very popular. But I never heard it used that way Kanye was using it.
Again, he didn't create auto-tune. No. Auto-tune was being used. All the people you just named, they were using it towards content that was fun.
Yeah. Party.
Kanye West flipped it and added the emotional element and made it dark.
Deep production.
Yeah.
We're just talking about the auto-tune part. Not only auto-tune, it's the book bag rap aspect, the tapping into your emotions as a rapper aspect, but like doing it in a way that's like not so obvious, like I say Kid Cudi did. So like there's several different aspects he's introduced, but like I said, it's not like you should take credit 50%, 100%. You know, it's almost like an NBA player where you look at them and you're like, Dirk Nowitzki has the one-step fadeaway. Like, Dirk Nowitzki's game, which not a lot of people mention, has influenced a lot of NBA players now. But it's not like you play directly like Dirk Nowitzki. But that shot that Dirk Nowitzki was able to create, a lot of people were influenced by it.
That's a good analogy.
But it's not like you're saying this is he directly.
No, so
because think about
it's a great analogy.
LeBron James has used the shot. Paul George, Kevin Durant,
Luka.
So Nowitzki can literally say, "I have influenced 20 years of NBA players with my shot."
I think influence is shared. The influence can be fragmented. Influence can be partial. Yeah, and we got to start acknowledging that, right? It doesn't have to be one size fits all. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody is so,
and that's not to cop please for Ye. Because Ye making that statement on the surface is incorrect.
Everybody gets,
but when you dive into it, there's some truth to it.
Everybody gets so fixated on either you're right or you're wrong. People heard that and was like, "That's ridiculous. He's wrong." I'm telling you. People can be 50% right, 60% right, 20%.
And most people
there could be some truth to something. Don't just dismiss it as either right or wrong.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. But F what we think. What do y'all think? Was Ye onto something? What are we copping pleas for Ye? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, was what he said overblown?
He's definitely
or what?
onto something.
Listen to the full episode. Link below.